Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. We're doing something a little different today, so I'm really excited about it. Uh, Everything is going really, really well. I actually met with my oncologist last week, and my PSA for my prostate actually went down from zero point 0.5 down to 0.3, and all the other numbers are looking really, really good. So I was real
Amazing.
happy with that. And yeah, so my oncologist was thrilled. She actually smiled, which for her, I think it's kind of difficult, but it worked out real well. I am so excited today because I have an unusual opportunity to share this interview with a couple of very good friends of mine. I've interviewed them before. First, there's Boyd Dunleavey from Canada, and Dr. Gary Phillips, and we're actually doing this interview at Dr. Gary Phillips' home, and we kind of separated because of feedback. But I am so excited for this because what we're going to be talking about is something we have not talked about before on the channel. And our topic today is the importance of for a cancer patient to surround themselves with the right people. And so Boyd is from Canada, and so what I'd like to do is go to first Boyd because he's on my screen's left, and then we'll go to Dr. Gary. So Boyd, please reintroduce yourself again. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your journeys and what are you doing here in California.
First of all, I thought that Dr. Gary and I were in the special screening room, but it just turns out we're
Quite
being
often.
separate. Yeah, and it just put the chimpanzees in the back room. Hi, Boyd Dunleavey. We've had a lot of fun today, so forgive us for not being very professional. Boyd Dunleavey, I live in New Brunswick, Canada. I'm a 2 times survivor of acute myeloid leukemia, which is a very serious form of blood cancer. I was first diagnosed in 2011, had a relapse in February of 2012. Supernaturally got it into remission twice and had a life-saving stem cell transplant May of 2012 from we found out afterwards an American naval serviceman named Nathan Barnes. The US Navy flew Nathan from Sasamo, Japan to Washington, DC to get his bone marrow to save my life. We actually connected and met at Disney in 2019. I started running around my first marathon at Disney in 2015. Ran 7 marathons in 7 years waiting to meet Nathan. 15, 16, yeah. Anyways, so met Nathan in 2019 during COVID, connected with a bunch of different people in the cancer community. And it was a year ago in the summer that I connected with Mark through just a series of coincidences. And we had been to Disney World a whole bunch of times. I'm literally wearing a shirt from it.
So goofy.
So goofy. My kids, the younger two, had never been to California, and so sometime around Christmas we're like, we should take the kids to California, and it just kind of started coming together. We do the meetings every week on Clubhouse where Mark and I co-moderate together, and
Tell everybody what that is.
what that's just don't gloss over that. So every Thursday at 9 Pacific, 1 Eastern, or 2 Atlantic, because I live in a weird time zone. There's an app called Clubhouse. It's called the Cancer Conquering Community. And every single week it's magic. I'm not sure how to articulate it other than that. Sometimes I'll come up with a subject or Mark will, and we'll try to just see how it plays out. And when we want to bring in nutrition, we literally just dial this guy in. He's got a bit of a background in health and nutrition, and so it's the highlight of the week for me. For some people it's their proverbial church service, but not more of a metaphor than a literal thing, but it's just where community comes together, and we have a lot of wonderful friends that show up each week, and it's literally the cancer conquering community. And the thing that I like about it that's different than a lot of the other ones is it always starts with what's going well for you. And people have an opportunity to share maybe things that are concerning them, but it just has a much more positive outlook on it. So we do that every week. And so for 9 months we talked about this, and then I miraculously walked away from a car crash in April, which guy came through a side street and took off the front of my car. So I said, we need to meet. So what is today? Today's the 27th of August, and we are all meeting in person for the first time. Dr. Gary and Mark knew each other. Their daughters were friends. And so it's been a wonderful time of getting together. But Mark had the brilliant idea of let's capture it on camera. Yeah, so we've had a blast. Dr. Gary has fed us full and some amazing healthy food. And so I'll stop talking, but yes, thank you for opening your home to us, Dr. Gary.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Dr. Gary.
Well, I'm just so excited to be in the presence of some real-time heroes. I am a 61-year-old medically retired chiropractic physician, sports medicine, family medicine physician, and nurse, and nutritional professor. And I, almost 27 years ago, was diagnosed with a life-threatening rare blood disorder, which has a very long name, but it basically means that in response to a cold or a flu virus, or it's been a viral bronchitis pretty much every time, my body starts destroying its platelets, which are the clotting cells in our body that's produced by the bone marrow, and their purpose is to prevent bleeding. They get too low and you're at risk for bleeding to death. And unfortunately, I'm in a category that adult males that's not really common. And I've basically had almost 85 near-death flare-ups that has forced 1 day in the emergency room, followed by 6 days of high-dose steroid rescues. And I've survived by the grace of God, like Boyd and like you, Mark. We've overcome life-threatening illness. And so in 2016, I was forced to medically retire because being exposed to any people, it used to be just sick people, and it used to be just patients, being hands-on with patients, the community. And so I sort of merged from patient care to management, and then from management to retirement. But the beautiful thing is that our daughter, Nicole, our two girls, and Nicole is friends with Tawny, who's Mark's daughter, and been friends for a long time, but I'd never met Mark until Tawny's wedding a couple of years ago, was it?
No, it was back in October.
Last
Oh
fall.
my God, seems
I
like
know.
a long time.
Last fall.
Back in October, last fall. And then so Mark and I connected immediately at the wedding, and we just sat and talked for an hour and just, shared our stories. And Mark said, I would love to be able to have a chance to, I have this To Be Your Own Hero YouTube channel where I interview survivors and heroes and cancer conquering individuals. And I just want to, I would love to have the opportunity to interview you. So by the grace of God and the blessing that Mark, we did 2 parts. And I met Boyd after Mark introduced me to the Cancer Conquering Community Clubhouse podcast, audiocast, and an amazing collection of godly people that have been survivors and overcome just incredible things. I mean, Boyd's story by itself is just, it's beyond comprehension, and it's something that it's a shining bright light that he has been so eloquent and poignantly pointed out to the world, sharing the story that a doctor does not have the final say on your prognosis. So we've all been there. My mom suffered with liver cancer and passed with that, but when the doctor told her you had 4 months to live, she said, Thanks, Doc, for sharing. I got some living to do. And I spent every week with her during the next 2 years in chemotherapy. And we just, celebrated life. And I'm so blessed and proud to have been a part of that. But because my mom was not offered hospice care, even though it was available, end of life care in a setting of that you're choosing in your own home, to not have any more aggressive measures and just, end peacefully. That wasn't offered to her, and that gave me the impetus to. And it was after I retired, literally from chiropractic, and I was a licensed nurse from high school. I went and got my RN after that, and as a registered nurse, I went into management and leadership with hospice, and it was because of my mom, who didn't have the experience offered to her to peacefully pass. And so that brought me into a whole wonderful area to take care of hospice patients and families and give them the opportunity to peacefully, transition from this world to the next, to heaven. And so anyway, with our community talks on Thursdays, I got to meet Boyd, and I was just amazed by his story, and just to hear and be around those people. It's actually very magnetic, very electric, very connected. When these individuals join, Melody and Pamela and Lakeisha and all these neat people, and Mike, and just sharing their stories, and actually giving us an opportunity to share our stories, but also share the things that have worked for us in that after cancer or after life-threatening condition. And thriving wellness. What is thriving wellness? What does it mean to wake up and put the right things in your body that will help prevent exacerbation, or help prevent cancer, or help promote longevity, or help to improve quality of life? So it's really about the quality of life. I gotta say, my beautiful Ecuadorian wife, Jackie, who's a nurse practitioner, nutritionally, she has a decent diet. She loves chips. She loves Coke. She loves Taco Bell. She loves all the things that people say, oh, fast food is bad for you. But let me tell you something. She's probably going to outlive me because of that, because of her genes and because of the weight. It's more important, I think, to be happy in what you're consuming and be, have good mental health and good thriving consciousness and positivity, and spreading love and joy and God's graces, rather than being so obsessed with corn syrup, or MSG, or things that are bad for you. But you know what, Jackie and I respect that she loves what she loves, and I eat what I eat, and I don't force my stuff upon her. And we enjoy Taco Bell and In-N-Out together as well. So it's just good. It's good to share the wisdom, and the topic about surrounding yourself with the right people is so poignant, because you can either be brought down into the ditches by the wrong people, right? You've experienced that.
Crabs in a bucket.
And conversely and positively, you can be lifted and help to thrive through surrounding yourself with godly, thriving people, positivity, motivational, inspirational, wise people, intuitive people that are interested in helping others more than themselves, and being selfless. And I think that we all here, and the people in the community, are all just living examples of that. And I think that's so important, to spread that message of love and joy about making a positive difference and an influence on others, sharing your story. Because Boyd and I and Mark, I know that I'm not going to say we shouldn't be here, because God has a purpose and a plan for our life. But by all odds and by all statistics,
we're outliers.
We are outliers, and we should not, by all statistical measures, be talking to you today. Every time, and Boyd will share, every 84 times in the emergency room, asking God to give me another day so I can see my grandkids, so I can build their home, so I can whatever. Just please give me an opportunity to help some more of your children, Lord. And he did every time. Listen, I was medically and clinically near death over 80 times, where I could have sneezed
I'm
and
not laughing. It just,
I could have sneezed and died.
he's got such a special story.
And
It
when
just,
I
it
was
makes me smile.
working,
Makes
when
me
I was
smile.
working in transplant, solid organ transplant as a case manager, right next door to me, and this is when Boyd's story just like sent chills down my spine. And I'm like, God wants you to be here, Boyd, because you have a message that people need to hear. And God is keeping all of us here because he needs us to spread that light and that message of wisdom and joy and hope to the world. And this is an incredible platform. Thank you to Mark for that. And so every time, we ask God for just give me some more time, it was granted. It was granted. And it's unbelievable. When I was in transplant, to finish my story, because I digress, we digress a lot, probably ADHD.
Right on point.
I was working next door to a lovely case manager, and her specialty was bone marrow transplant. And what I learned before I met Boyd was that it is highly likely that more than 50% of the bone marrow transplant people will not survive because just the process of killing your white blood cells with chemotherapy, literally eliminating your body's defenses in preparation for receiving a matched recipient, a matched donor's bone marrow, like Nathan's. And then after that bone marrow comes in with the procedure, the next, how many,
for it to graft.
yeah, how many weeks is that? Like 6 to 8 weeks?
It's
2 months.
It's between 2 weeks and a month for it to graft, but the first 100 days, most people die because of
Graft versus host disease, right?
no, just no immune system.
So imagine
Just they have no immune system.
taking away the entire US military and then go try to fight.
Starting a new one from birth.
Yes, just
starting a new one from birth, and it takes 20 years for them to be able-bodied fighting men as adults.
So they wipe out your bone marrow, and then they put fresh bone marrow in that's matched, and then there's hoping and prayer, and chemotherapy is basically the therapy afterwards is like to prevent your bodies from rejecting
the anti-rejection medication,
right? So, and the anti-rejection medication like cyclosporin, this is extremely toxic medication. We have both been on prednisone. Prednisone destroyed my body and has caused a lot of disc injuries and needs for surgery. But I'm still alive and I'm thriving with good nutrition and great wisdom. But
can I jump in? Can I jump in?
Yes.
So a couple things.
How did you get through it?
Well, I'll answer. So I went through blood cancer twice in 8 months. My cancer relapsed because of the incompetence of the medical community, traumatic brain injury, and spinal cord trauma. And I actually got a letter in the mail from the hospital. How was the service? I'm like, you got to be kidding. So you don't know that?
What was the traumatic brain injury?
Just from the chemotherapy poisoning my brain.
Oh my God, they consider that traumatic brain injury?
That was, well,
I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, not physical trauma, but chemical trauma.
It was chemical trauma. It chemically poisoned my brain.
Very real.
And so anyways, I got a letter in the mail, mailed it in. They're like, somebody called and they're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I need to hear from somebody who actually has authority. So a gentleman named Dr. Jabber called, and he was genuinely sad and just like distressed. And I said, sir, I don't feel like this, but as a Christian, we're called to forgive. And so I remember choosing to forgive him. And it was like years later that I realized the connection. So it was November of 2012. I got off pretty much all of the anti-rejection medication. And I did not get graft versus host disease. I just remember saying to myself quietly, in Jesus' name, I will not get graft versus host disease. I do not want this illness. It sounds horrible, but
rejecting the enemy.
Rejecting the illness, but other than brain and spinal cord trauma, it was a perfect match. But instead of sitting at home feeling sorry for myself, when I started running, I utilized my disabilities and God bless the Boston Athletic Association, but I've run their marathon in person 4 times under their Athletes with Disabilities program. And so I've utilized what I went through to help, bring a message of hope to others. And, we were actually just talking about that earlier about the Boston Marathon. It's such an incredible experience, and to
Let me step in here.
Please do, please.
Let's get back and talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. During any kind of a health journey, cancer journey, anything like that, because it's critical. And so, for instance, in my case, I've just been so fortunate and blessed and lucky to have great family, great friends. I had people, in fact, it was overwhelming at first, all the love and outpouring and people caring and everything like that. And I was thinking to myself, boy, this is not sustainable. I mean, all these wonderful people, but I was on the phone morning, noon, and night, explaining about what was going on. And so it's so important not only to surround yourself with the right people, but how to manage that situation.
How
And
about
so,
a limited amount of people that you're sharing with, because you have to focus on your well-being.
right, exactly. That's critical. I mean, I was actually had people from all over the place. And so I didn't, it was confusing to me how to manage with that and how to deal with it. And so my sister suggested starting a Caring Bridge site. There's other options that have developed since then. And I would suggest taking a look at the video I did with Paula Seafair, and she started an app called My Care Crew, which is an interactive app that allows patients and their family and friends to communicate. And so many cancer patients are afraid to ask, what they need and what's necessary. And so she developed this app so that a cancer patient or any patient can put down what they need. Like for instance, some examples are, hey, I need my lawn mowed, or I really would like to get a meal here. And you could put that in there and people could respond through the app. So that's another great option. So there are options to deal with influx of people. And so those are really good options. And it takes a lot of pressure off of the cancer patient going through all of this.
I think it's important, though, what you were just talking about. You can't be there to answer everybody all the time. And so for us, what we did was set up a Facebook page. It was, Boyd's journey or something along those lines, and trying to give updates from the transplant and everything else. And really having the right people with you. For me, it was not just the right medical team. We actually switched cities in Canada to go to a different city because they did unrelated transplants. The city that we were in did not do unrelated transplants. And just as importantly as we had people that were believers and Christians and just praying for us that I would get through it, and my family would get through it. We had 3 kids in 6 years, and the youngest was a newborn when this happened to me. And so the whole thing was just, it was hard, but having people that prayed and believed and really believed that God was going to do this. One of my favorite photos that was taken of us was in 2012, right before the transplant. I'm at the front of the church and people are praying for me. And my wife's there and she's holding one of our kids, and they got their arm in the air and they're praying for us. And to get through all of that really was quite miraculous, and God's tremendous grace in all of this. But part of having a positive team is saying no to toxic people. And one of my favorite lines that I say to people is, just because they're wearing the jersey that has the same last name as you, it doesn't mean they're on the team. So it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a child that is so self-absorbed in their own grief that you have cancer, that they're literally a crab in a bucket. I talked about this earlier. Crab in a bucket is when the crabs start trying to climb out of the bucket, the other crabs pull you back into the bucket. And so
Misery loves company.
Misery loves company. Crabs in the bucket, just trying to suck people into their emotional vampirism and
Yeah, very
these,
toxic.
these dark holes. And so having the courage to say no to people, that's not automatic. That's that's something that I've learned, and turns out I'm pretty good at it. But it wasn't something that I ever desired to do. But you just have to realize some people just really, you need to get away from them.
Mhm.
For me, the family was amazing.
Mhm.
My wife and daughters were just unbelievably my rock. And the church, Shepherd Church, and all the pastors that we knew and all the church family just rallied together, and prayer groups and prayer talks and phone calls and text messages and hope and inspiration, and it kept me going. The other thing is my sister Heather was an executive, and her hobby was the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society
Oh yeah,
support.
yeah, yeah.
And she was riding her bike on what they called centuries, which is 100-mile bike rides for the society, and double centuries. And she even rode with what's his name, Lance Armstrong,
Yeah.
in one of the things, and it was all in the name of supporting survivors and those suffering with leukemia and lymphoma. And so that was inspiring to me, and I also supported the organization. And it takes a village, and it starts with your nuclear family.
Yes.
The nuclear family, I think, is the greatest strength known to man. The love of the nuclear family is stronger than any force in nature.
Yeah, my
Well
wife,
said.
my
Well
wife, who's
said.
the complete introvert and would never be caught on camera, she was just amazing. She found the hospital to save my life.
Mm,
That's she found the medication that I need for the nerve damage,
a blessing.
and Dr. Google. But they always say don't Google things, but the
It's
outlier. But we've been married 22 years, and yeah, I owe her a lot. So hence our trip to California, even just going on a roller coaster with my kids.
less than
As a
50
gift.
miles from us.
I said 50 miles
from the Maritimes,
from the Canadian Maritimes,
which are, for those who don't know what the Maritimes are,
3,000 miles from here, an hour east of New York.
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland, and it's east of Maine.
That was Newfoundland for the
Newfoundland,
United States. people.
Newfoundland,
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland, the Newfies.
Cold places. They're very cold places.
They have some beautiful areas, but it's a time zone ahead of New York, right? So 3 hours, and it's another hour ahead. So I mapped it out. It was almost 3,000 miles from my house to here. So
What we found on the Clubhouse phone call, and then Mark, I'll let you have, is that people are thirsty for support. And if we can quench that thirst with knowledge and empowered wisdom from those of us that have been through it, it's amazing. The ripple effect of providing simple, healthful information, things that have worked for us, taking into account people's allergies and their genetics and their gut health, makes a difference. I mean, people on the phone call are undergoing active chemotherapy, which is really, I mean, imagine, it's enough having you guys been through chemotherapy and me having been through rescue therapy. You don't want to do anything except try to fight for your life,
right.
let alone try to
manage family members that aren't being supportive,
or reach out to a community of helpers.
Right.
I mean, so it takes a lot. I think, give a lot of credit
and
to
the other
people
thing
getting on the phone call.
But the other thing too is that the quality of the app is excellent.
Mhm.
It's
Allows you to record
well, not just that,
in
like
high definition.
are interrupting each other right now. We sometimes interrupt each other over the phone.
I think you can digitally raise your hand.
yeah. There is, but who does that? Who needs to raise their hand? Anyways, no, it's a very good quality app, and it works well too. So,
but surrounding yourself with the right people at the right time. I only have less than on my hand I can count of really close friends that would die for you and that you would die for them. You don't need a lot. You
don't
just
need a
need
lot.
1, 2, 3 close nuclear friends, you know.
And these two guys I just love and trust. And
Who?
I thought it was Mark twice. No, I'm this guy right here. This guy right here. It's been life changing for me personally, and they're very
Yeah.
close, trusted friends. Even though we live a lifetime of, well, not a lifetime away, like 4 time zones away. But you know, we talk every week, and these guys bring a lot of wisdom and knowledge, and
Makes a difference.
this,
Makes a
you know,
difference.
this is our pitch. It's an amazing group, and we're the ones that are kind of spearheading it, but even some of the people that join us when they've shared, and we're gonna have some people come in and share some of their stories too, kind of going forward. So it's gonna be really interesting coming up in the next little bit. So
It's funny, they call us moderators, but there's nothing moderate about what we communicate. More moderating. We're moderating a conservative conversation.
no, we have a lot of fun.
We
And I think that's
welcome
the most
everybody's story, because everybody's story, like Mark, you know, eloquently shares every week, is unique and special and deserves to be heard.
And we
the
make time
medical
for it. We
community,
make time for it.
and the medical community is not going to give you that chance. The
No.
medical community has a task to do, and you know, bless them
They-
for that
no, but they
task.
speak at you and then they leave.
And it's like 15-minute appointments.
Mm.
And if you don't bring a shopping list of questions in and literally harpoon the doctor on the way out,
Mm.
you're not going to get your questions answered. So who's going to answer the questions? And then when you get the questions answered, I'm definitely not talking down about the medical community, but the paradigm of allopathic medicine, which is conventional, straight and narrow medical judgment, is very, and believe me, there is a rare small percentage that are personal. You know, they go outside, they think outside the box. They don't just, you know, prescribe what the textbook says. They actually consider the human being on the other side of the computer screen. But that's not the majority, unfortunately. So, and we have all found very special physicians, you know, that are out of the box thinkers, but the majority of the people, unfortunately, don't have that opportunity. So it's important for them to be empowered to know when to ask the question and when to say no.
Right.
And when to say, I will think about it. I will talk to my peer group. I will talk to my family. I will see if this is right for me, not just because you're telling me it's right for me. Because yes, you have a job to do, but this is my life. I'm the decision maker. I'm guided by my Father above. And you know what? I just want to do the right thing for me and hopefully less toxic.
Well,
you know,
a good example was a few months
I
ago.
hope I'm not being like too aggressive.
No. A few months ago, somebody came on and they were going through chemotherapy and dealing with nausea. And I was like, I wasn't really sure. And I was talking about something that I had used. And then for some reason you came on the call a few minutes
Ginger.
Yeah. No, you're like, well,
Gotta have ginger.
this is was it ginger that you recommended to her?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyways, so Dr. Gary definitely brings things from a more holistic point of view. And so that was a perfect example of helping several people for what they're going through right now with nausea with the chemotherapy, because what I was prescribed years ago, I would not recommend. It was whatever. So
Case in point, the prednisone that I took for my rescue therapy, and
yeah, I was on it.
prednisone, and let's just say the side effects are catastrophic. And the medications that you have to take to combat or counteract the side effects of prednisone, like from whether it's opiates for the migraine headaches or the laxatives for the constipation or whatever, and it causes a whole host of things. They themselves have their own toxicity.
Mhm.
Okay, let's just talk about Zofran, which is one of the most widely used antiemetic, anti-nausea medications, both IV and orally. I've taken it many
Dr.
times.
Gary, can we get back on that?
No, I just want, this is very important
okay.
because Zofran by itself, in contrast to ginger, that's where I'm getting at. In contrast to a natural plant-based remedy for nausea, like ginger or cannabis, Zofran causes constipation. Well, if you're on prednisone or a medication that constipates you or shuts down your colon, and then you're taking something for the nausea due to the constipation that causes more constipation. So you see, this is a cycling kind of thing. So people need to be educated about that, and that's why, you know, I just lend my wisdom.
That's why we bring that guy on.
Because I can speak from a doctor, a nurse, and a human, and a professor. Not because I'm arrogant or selfish, but because my knowledge, training, experience over 40 plus years is damn good. I'm sorry.
I was really hoping I could find him the Grover t-shirt that says, "Trust me, I'm a doctor." That would have been appropriate. All right, Mark, back to you.
Go ahead, Mark.
Because as you can tell, our conversations each week are very hearty.
In order to do all this, you got to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
That was a great save, Dr.
Is that a great segue?
Yeah, it was. It was really good.
By the way, what's the topic today?
Anyway, let's I want to wrap it up here.
Sounds good.
I'm so thankful for both of you. It's been just a true pleasure and an honor to get together with both of you in person. Boyd, to meet you in person for the first time, that is just, I'm just
meet the survivor in person.
So happy and elated. And that's what life's all about. This is what life's all about, is getting together in person and you know, moving away from the internet and you know, just be human in person. And I absolutely love it. So thank you to both of you, and the importance of surrounding yourself with great people, the right people who want the best for you, who want to see you do well, who want you to get better. That is so critical, because if you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people who want to tear you down, are negative, it's going to affect you. And that's not a good thing at all during a cancer journey. So, I mean, it is absolutely critical and so important. And so what I'd like to do is thank you both. I appreciate both of you and your time. And we spent just an absolutely fantastic day together.
I'll be hugging you when we come around the corner to the other room when we get off the camera.
It's not on camera, apparently.
Not on camera, because it's not appropriate.
Not a public hugger.
Appropriate.
So what I usually do, what I always do
is 3 today. I'm gonna get 5 hugs before he leaves.
Let him do his thing.
Is I end up each interview with a couple of quotes, and these quotes are coming from off the top of my head from Zig Ziglar, who's one of our favorites. And the first quote is, "If it is to be, it is up to me." And you know, nobody's going to care more about your life than you. Right. And the second quote is, "It's all about the journey and not the destination." And that's so important. I'd like to thank everyone here for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero. Make the most out of every single day, every single hour, every single minute, and every single breath, because life is so precious. It's so incredible. I can't even, you know, hopefully you know that. I took it for granted. I took you know, going outside every day for granted until I got cancer, and then I realized, wow, this is not given. This is not something that's given. And so I appreciate opening my eyes every single day, and I hope you do as well. Thank you for joining us at To Be Your Own Hero. Make the most out of every day, and let's all help make this world a better place. Thank you, and we will see you next week.